Hello, dear friends. Today we're talking to a great guy named Troy Rand, and he is here with a conversation about technology, a little bit of his life and the way Taekwondo has guided him. And I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you on the other side. Well, first I want to say welcome, Troy. You've been a really valuable person to me and been guiding me through this like 3D transition for me in my practice. So thanks for being here. I just want to introduce the audience to you. Troy Rand, son of a legendary dude that I hope to get to know even more. And you have like some shared experiences with me, so we've got along great in the time that I've known you. So this morning I want to talk about 3D printing, Shining 3D Dental, and some of the other things that we have in common. So anyway, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Dr. Perry. It's an honor to be here and really excited to get this conversation going and learn a little bit more about each other and see where the conversation takes us. Yeah, should be fun.
Yeah, great. Well, the way we were introduced was through Shining 3D Dental. And I'm an implant dentist, and you're essentially an expert when it comes to printing. You've got a lot of computer backgrounds. You've helped me out with that scanner, and so that's where I want to start. I want to talk about how I started in 3D dentistry. It was through CEREC. So I had Prime Scan, and I think I had the blue cam. I think I had the red cam in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And then the blue cam, and then the Omni cam, which was worse than the red cam, or worse than the blue cam. It was probably better than the red cam, but I remember the blue cam feeling like, man, I think it was easier.
When was
just straight
that?
Scanning. 2008, I think.
Okay, sounds about right.
Something like that, around that time period. The blue cam, I think it was like really square, boxy. It was pretty big. And you wouldn't move the camera around. You just like stay straight with it. It did pretty good. And I had in-lab software. So I was doing 50 millimeter blocks. So I was doing bridges, long span, replacing posterior bridges sometimes. And then Omnicam, I feel like it was limited. I think they went smaller camera. They had a smaller camera to make it like a little easier in the mouth but that had some big limitations. I think because you're looking for some spacing between the cameras, that you're limited, because the more stereoscopic vision you have, the farther away your eyeballs are, the better depth perception you have.
I see.
This is why like owls have like super great depth perception, or like it's pretty cool in nature, like animals that have like eyeballs on the side.
Yeah.
They can see here, but they can't really tell depth perception from up ahead as well.
Sure. Like a rhino, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Or like a deer can like look for threats.
Yep.
On the sides. But an owl is definitely optimized for like depth. And so the blue cam was, I think, because it was bigger camera, it had advantages. The Omnicam was a smaller camera, which was like maybe easier to maneuver in the mouth. But I think that it really suffered from that. So then we're at the Prime Scan now. Felt like that was the last camera I'll ever buy. So I went like big in it. I bought 3 of them.
Sure.
Which I think is a mistake. Like I wish I would have only had just 1 or 2.
It's expensive too. I mean, those cameras, they are not cheap, and the whole system that comes with it. I mean, they kind of get you with the subscriptions, this and that, and it really adds up. But it really does say something, though, that you were a pioneer doing this in 2008 or even 2010, for that matter. You were on the very early part of the bell curve for people adopting, CAD CAM, getting into 3D dentistry. So the fact you've been doing it for so long really says something, and you're still here doing it and evolving with it. It's really come a long ways since 2010, even since 2018, 2019, it's come a long ways.
Wow.
So
nice. Yeah, I'd like to talk to you about that. I mean, the thing that, as a dentist who immediately learns lessons. If you're a dentist that can is outsourcing to a lab, you won't learn those lessons of like how you prep the teeth or your like your clinical excellence,
the things you're looking for, and
your clinical excellence is directly tied to what you just did 5 minutes ago. When you're in CEREC, you really learn how to control that environment really well. So you learn how to polish the adjacent teeth and like make sure the draw is and the crown preps are perfect. And so it really teaches you to prep really well. And labs tell you that.
And what do you mean by the draw? And I might ask some simple questions at times. Yeah,
a simple crown, especially a bridge, you have to make sure that the walls are parallel. So if there's two walls and then you have like this one like this and this one here.
Yep.
The crown is kind of swims in place, right? When it's seated. So if it's blocked over here by this abutment, then you're going to have a problem with seating it. You're going to have some consequence there, and you might not know it. So you have to really I think the easiest way to name it is draw, or like parallel walls.
Eliminating undercuts or minimizing undercuts in a sense is what that is getting at.
Yeah, you have to be able to draw, completely vertically, and I think that James Klim was a mentor of mine, still is and he's a wonderful guy, and he taught me that there's really three things that you want an adequate reduction for space of the material. You're limited there. I mean, the material thickness has to be at a certain minimum. And then you want to have parallel walls, or like the taper is important.
Yep.
And smooth. Like the margins have to be I'm actually polishing margins now. So it's not like polished like enamel, but it's basically a polishing burr. For the margins cannot be bumpy. The smoother the margins, the better.
Right. It's interesting you say that. So I got the opportunity to attend a Coy Center lecture, Dr. Marta's digital practice course. And in the course, she talks about the anatomy of scan bodies and how important they are. And every scanner in the CAD/CAM space, it can kind of struggle with really, really sharp edges. So if you look at like a square or a rectangle and you go to those 90-degree angles, they are really hard to capture super accurately. Whereas if it's a rounded edge, maybe something that's a little bit more polished, the scanner and the technology just picks it up better and is able to read it better versus the super straight line. So it's interesting that you know, if you're polishing them, that's probably a pretty good reason why that you're getting better fits. So
yeah, so that's a principle. I'm glad you brought up the Coy Center. They're doing scientific research on that. And then also the last one is like the contacts. So like the adjacent contacts for those perfect flossing, that Goldilocks, like not too tight, just right. So those three things are something that like are really important when you're doing your own lab work, which basically is when you're a CEREC doctor, you're basically the lab tech, the laboratory technician. And then, through the prime scan, I've gone from like one milling machine to three, and into my last one was zirconia. I didn't, during that time, the prime mill was like going through early adoption.
Sure.
So there was, it sounded like it was really bad based on like all the Facebook threads. So I kind of was like, I'll go back to the wet dry mill.
Yep.
Which was right before. And so I stayed there.
Were you using it both wet and dry, or were you just
No, I had two MCXL wet mills, wet grinding. So I was wet grinding Emax with the two mills. So I kept the dry mill dry.
Smart.
And I didn't go back and forth. I
mean, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. So we just do zirconia in one and then Emax in the other one. And And I've used other materials, but those are my favorite. And so, yeah. But then I had some difficulty scanning soft tissue for anything full arch, basically, from night guards to partials to dentures, those kind of things. And it's really hard with the prime scan. Really, so we would use powder or whatever.
It's always funny when I get that question now. Like, do I have to do any powder? And I'm like, no powder. It hasn't been that way for 10 years. So some of the scanners still did require them, or they could function better. But you always hear those nightmare stories of, I had to spray this powder in the mouth, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like
yeah. So that seemed to be better. So I was spraying OptiSpray, and then I found out about the 3D shining through. It was really Instarisa. I think the first time. Instarisa is an excellent organization. I love those guys in Fresno. Art Miralis is a great guy, and he's a Koist instructor, and he's meant so much to me. He's guided me in many ways. And Shining 3D was there with a denture course that I attended. Sid Parker, another Koist dentist, was there, and we had a Shining 3D chairside for a denture exercise. So from there, got a hold of you, and we started together. And from then on, it's been excellent. Probably the best compliment I can give to you is that my assistants love it, and they love the native software integration, which is how you basically take it from the scan to get to the lab. I still feel like there's so much more to learn because they've been using my clinical partners have been using it exclusively. So I'm not using it as much unless I have unless I'm working on weekends, which I would never do.
But working with the scanner exclusively, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not using the scanner. I mean, I did when we started. I should probably get back to it, just so I know how to do it without any help.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. And it's nice to hear that your assistants are loving it because they're generally the ones that are using it the most. Mm-hmm. But, I'm happy to walk you through any workflow, anytime, spend the time to do that with you. And, what's great about our scanner is the fact that the assistants love it. Whenever I walk into an office and an assistant has experience scanning with a bunch of other scanners or just one scanner, the second they pick ours up, they're like, oh my gosh, it's so light. And then once they start scanning, the look on their faces is priceless every single time.
Exactly.
It's amazing. It's so easy to use. It's so unbelievably fast. That's the reaction I get. I love working with this company because it's quality technology that we have. It's cutting edge, and no one has the same scanning technology we have. And it's really something that differentiates us with us having a background in the scan world or scanning CAD CAM world before even they got into dentistry. That's the reason being no one has the same technology we have because it's all developed in-house by us.
Okay.
And so when I say that, it leaves an impact on people because they believe what I'm saying because they're using it in the mouth and they're seeing how fast it works. And they're like, wow, this is actually true because I've scanned with other companies and other scanners and they aren't this fast and easy to use.
Right.
So that's why I get that reaction.
Right.
It really sells itself, and it's an amazing product that they've developed.
Is there something, with physics or computer software that you think, because you have a background in computers, so I wonder if there's some, from a basic level that makes it different.
Yeah, there is. And a lot of that is kind of IP, intellectual property. So they actually, don't even share with us a whole lot. But essentially what it comes down to, speaking in kind of like, broad terms, is the camera technology and the resolution they're using is kind of proprietary in a sense that each company, like 3Shape or Itero or Shining 3D. They all build these cameras or outsource or get these cameras from some other company. And the way that they talk to the software is different. It's in the code and the AI that's developed. And so it's the resolution of the camera and the way it's talking to the software. And that's where we get all these differences in image quality and accuracy. And that sort of thing. And so, it comes down to frames per second, but ultimately it really comes down to resolution of the camera and the way that the camera is talking to the software.
Yeah, I think I understand a little bit about, I've learned a little bit about the iPhone and how like it might not have the type of megapixel resolution, but it does have some software that helps take better pictures through intelligence. And there's probably something like that, that software optimized.
Yeah, it's all in what the people actually writing the code are doing. And I don't understand computer science all that well, other than the fact that I know whatever they're doing a good job at it. But it's interesting that resolution isn't always like the higher the resolution doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be that much better. It's in the way that it's actually talking to the software. So if it's a lower resolution, you might not even know, and it's still going to be just as good, if not better, because of the way that they all talk to each other.
Yeah. Okay. So that's just one part of it. The other part is, you take the scan, and then you have to have a design service or AI to basically give you a proposal of the restoration. And then there's the printing and manufacturing. Okay. That's like 3 parts.
Yep.
Inside the CEREC world, there is excellent AI that gives you a proposal that sets you up for manufacturing pretty well. But in 3D printing world, a lot of dentists don't realize that the designing, even just a model, setting it up in a slicer program is really challenging. And that's where it falls on its face.
Yeah.
And then they also don't realize the amount of mess that comes with printing, right?
Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit about like where the state of the art is in printing? Because I was thinking like there was a race between milling and printing. And I think when I talked to you and you were like, nope, printing is going to win that for sure.
Yeah.
Because milling is what we're doing with CEREC, like single crowns or like maybe a full block of zirconia. Why can't we get a robot to mill a puck? Let's say you want a denture, because I think you can mill a pretty large puck.
Yeah, you certainly can.
You know what I mean? Like, and then
for a denture,
and have like pink on one side and white on the other, and it mills. Something like that. And then, okay, so for milling, there might be a little bit more waste, but it's dry waste, and it's probably easier to process than like resin. And maybe there's less curing, because that's done.
I mean, curing, it's still like if you're milling something, it still has to go into the furnace, which is kind of like the cure in a sense. It solidifies all the materials and the properties to make sure that it's going to have the, mechanical strength that it needs. And if you aren't, putting it in a furnace, then it's not going to be as solid as it should.
Right.
And so, the furnace, it really depends on what, mill we're using and the material, how long it needs to be put into the furnace. Cause some things take 7 to 8 hours. They have to cook in this furnace,
right?
Versus some of the other materials that have been like pre-sintered and you don't even have to put them into the furnace, which is what CEREC has done with some of their blocks, and some other mills have as well. But yeah, you kind of touched on it. There is, maybe a little bit more waste with milling, but mills aren't going anywhere for some time, just purely from the strength and quality that we're able to achieve out of a mill. No one's really achieving out of a 3D printer yet, but it's getting close. And a lot of people feel the same way. Maybe 5 to 10 years from now, we'll start to see mills start to be phased totally out once the materials for the resin, they start innovating and coming out with these new resins that have different strength qualities to them, and they start to look just as good, if not better. And we're able to do it much faster because printing is faster. There's, the cure time for a single unit crown, you're looking at like 3 to 5 minutes. once we release our new printer here in September, it's already out in Europe, but here in the US come September, we'll be able to do a 40-minute turnaround time on a crown. That's, it's not going to have the same quality and aesthetics maybe that a mill would have yet, but it's very, very close. And in the next year or two, some of the resins that are coming out are going to start rivaling the strength of the natural hardness of our dentition. So it's really coming a long ways, and that's just in the next year and a half. We'll see in 5 years the kind of materials that are coming out. And what's cool about Shining 3D is we're an open system, so we don't lock people into only using our resins. If some new manufacturer comes out with an amazing resin that is, taking the dental world by storm, then we're going to be able to adapt and bring that into our system. And we don't have to worry about it with us being an open system. So we work very closely with a lot of other partners out there that want to validate our resin or their resin on our machines because they're reliable and they're quality. And if we're going to validate your resin, then they want to work with us. And it just creates this win-win situation. And then you guys, as a dentist and in the dental world, end up benefiting as well because you're able to get to the end result faster and you're seeing that quality that you want to see out of a mill. So once we get that out of the 3D printer, I think we'll start to see a lot more offices start to transition into the scanner and 3D printers because those offices that are already 3D printing, their ROI is much greater than the average dental practice that's still just outsourcing everything because bringing things in-house is really where the future of the industry is headed. And the more you're able to do in-house, the more ROI you're going to get, the faster your patients are going to get to their end results, and everyone's going to be happier at the end of the day. So
yeah. And the design service, I want to talk to you a little bit about that because that's the part that I don't know, that I haven't experienced yet. I kind of understand the concept of the printing. Like, let's say you have like the resins, the chemistry that's getting better, and you say that this is kind of like open source. Whereas as soon as a resin's validated, it's pretty well accepted by the Shining ecosystem. But tell me about the chemistry right now being open source. Companies that have a printer, they want you to buy their resin through their website, right? So you're saying that the Shining printer will say, "Oh, yeah, these are recommended. Go ahead and give it a try." It's such a robust system that it will allow you to put more resins into the printer. Is that right?
Yeah. So our team in Tampa and overseas and our headquarters in China, they are constantly testing new resins, and we're validating the profiles. So if, say you have a resin that we don't have in our system yet, you can, as long as it's not some of the other closed systems resin, we will take that resin in and start the validation process for it and build the parameters. So once you go to print, you just twist the dial until you see that resin, you click it, and then boom, automatically all the parameters are preloaded. And we have what's called an engineer mode, and it doesn't come enabled, but if you want us to enable it, we can. Essentially allows access to this grid of, maybe 30 to 50 different parameters with multiple little boxes that can all be adjusted up or down, depending on, the first 3 layers that it's printing, the cure time. It spends a little bit longer curing those first 3 layers in order for the print to stick to the plate. And depending on what resin we're using, maybe the cure time needs to go up a little bit or be lowered a little bit. And that's just one of the 50 settings that can be changed. So our team validates all of those settings to determine the the best outcome.
I see.
And that's how we're able to adapt and bring in multiple resins. And so for right now, our printer for a denture or a crown or a night guard, we have at least 3 different resin options for someone to choose from, rather than just saying, nope, this is the only one you can use.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're obviously you're gonna tell the printer what you're printing, right? What resin you're printing.
Yep.
And then it's gonna basically know the optimum settings for each layer, and where to put the supports and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So the supports is mostly done in the nesting and the slicing, and so something you kind of touched on earlier was, even for printing a model to slice it and make sure that it's going to be put. Maybe if we're doing like 2 models at a time, it's not as big of a deal because you just lay them flat on the build plate.
Right.
But if we wanted to do, say, 32 models, and not many, clinics are doing 32 models at a time. Maybe a lab is doing that, but let's say you're doing, 6 night guards. Let's say we are doing the 32 models. What's so cool about what our software does is you can upload those 32 models into our slicing software. You click our one-click print. It's going to automatically nest and put them all in their optimal locations on the build plate. So it will place all those little support sprues in their best locations. It's going to print our night guards at the right angle. It's automatically doing it for us. It's called their one-click print. Whereas when I first started selling 3D printers back in 2018, and some of the nesting and slicing softwares are still like this, you have to manually place all these little support sprues in their locations that aren't going to mess with the print. And depending where you're putting these sprues, they can mess with the print. So it's nice not having to worry about that because it's a one-click print. I mean, the AI, it's a wizard. It really does a phenomenal job at putting everything where you need it to be without really feeling like you have to do very much at all. I mean, it takes less than 15 seconds.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's the difference between 2018 and today, right? That's the major difference, I think, right? AI, basically using AI to set up the prints, right? The one-click. So after you do a scan, there's probably a lot of stuff to clean up on the model, right? So it cleans that off and it sets it up with a perfect, and you say, I want a night guard here. And it'll set up the night guard, and how much work is on that design, and how well are you working with that? Will it give you a proposal that you can change?
For the design of the night guard? Yeah. So you can let the AI generate it, and you can then go back in and make adjustments as you see fit, smooth surfaces off, add material, remove material, check where the contacts are happening between the opposing arches and where the occlusion is occurring. All of it's adjustable. The AI will run a design for you, which takes maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes at most for it to process all the way through. And then, like I said, you go back in, make the adjustments you see fit. And what's unique about Shining 3D is the fact that you can go from scan to design and print all in one spot. So you're not having to export your scans and send them to somewhere else and then do your design there and then export those into your cam to do the nesting. It's as seamless as it's ever been. And it's really an area that we shine in, for a lack of a better word. I mean, it's really, go ahead. Yeah,
well, no, it seems like the CEREC of printing, of 3D printing. You know what I mean? Because that's what got CEREC. Nobody else has that kind of seamless integration in CEREC, and I'm not seeing that in printing either. I think that like some of the other printing, the big printing companies, it seems like they want you to use their design services and charge for that instead of allowing the clinician through AI to do it. So I've been really excited about that, and I'm looking forward to taking that next step. Right now, I just have the scanner, and I want to see how that is going to integrate because I'm happy with a mill for like 1 or 2 or 3 teeth.
Yeah,
but it's for like full arch night guards, dentures, partials, not metal frameworks yet. I'm sure that's further down the road, but that's the piece, the middle piece where you're getting the design so that you have something you can print. That I've been stuck. I had the frozen. I still have the frozen dental. Frozen
very
printer.
Popular one.
Yeah, and it's about $1,000. It's a good intro. It's basically something that my 9-year-old son Luke is like, I'm making minifigs for him.
We got to get a face scan of him and make a little bobblehead out of him.
That'd be great. I'd love that. But yeah, it does take a lot of work getting nested into the slicer software.
Yeah, and like I said, it's come a long ways. And what's so great about our scanner, and again, the AI, is like you mentioned, you might have to clean up some of the model. With our scanner, you really shouldn't have to clean up barely anything. It's totally hands-free. As soon as you click scan, you put your gloves on, you go all the way to the very end, and the AI does such a phenomenal job of cutting out any extra unnecessary data. So cheek, tongue, glove, fingers, it all gets erased through the AI just while you're scanning.
It does seem to know the difference between like what's important and what's not, and takes that out. It's like, okay, we're interested in these structures. And you're right. It is impressive how it does erase that.
Yeah, and it's something that Dr. Ahmad Al-Hassini, sorry if I'm butchering that name, I'm pretty sure that's the correct way to pronounce it, but he is the doc that runs IDD, which is the Institute of Digital Dentistry, and he compares all of the scanners, and that's one thing he says that ours excels in is its AI and ability to cut out unnecessary data. Another area he mentions that we have the best thing in is its photorealistic scans. This image you're seeing is the most photorealistic of any other scanner on the market. And so whenever I'm showing and I'm demoing, a case, and I always pull up a couple examples of these soft tissue cases, and people are always like, wow, like it looks like the real thing.
Yeah.
And it's due to the lighting technology that we use. It's a structured white light. And again, coming from having the background of a scanning company, Shining 3D started out in 2004 as a scanning company. So they scan rooms like we're in, automobiles, airplanes. They got into the dental space in 2014 with our first desktop scanner. And then our first intraoral scanner was launched in 2017. We're currently in our 4th generation. And the current scanner we have, the Aoral Scan Elite, it's the only scanner on the market to combine photogrammetry with intraoral scanning. Being the fact, again, I keep saying it, being a scanning company, they were a leading proponent in the photogrammetry field. We would take these dots, these large dots, and put them on airplanes with these handheld scanners and scan these airplanes with these dots. And what photogrammetry is, it's in simple terms, it's taking a shape and correlating the shape to a measurement. So we're scanning entire airplanes down to, less than a 1/16 of an inch in accuracy. If we're scanning these large things, then why can't we take this technology, bring it down inside the mouth? And that's exactly what they did. And it really is making us take off here in the last year with the workflow that it provides.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'm using those, scan flags in order to get a great framework, or like all on 6 implants, for example. So you put the scan flags in. You need the orientation of the implants, the angle, the spacing, and then you need to take those off. You have healing collars. I think we put your healing collars into your software, right? The Nobel white ones. So those are in the software now.
On your end, yes, they can be manually downloaded. I don't think they're like in our library itself, but that's what's nice about us being an open system is we can take other libraries and make them compatible with us. So,
well, I mean, it doesn't matter if I use those white Nobel ones, or anything else.
Right.
I mean, I like any type of healing collar would be fine. I like that it's white, it scans really well, but they are. Those little white Nobel scan bodies don't really stick to the finger wrench very well, so you're kind of like,
I see.
They're a little bit slippery and they're hard to get in and off for a patient that's sedated. You want something that you got a lot more control. MegaGen has an excellent way of like having a little bit of taper that locks into the finger wrench, so you have like you're not going to drop anything.
I see.
There's less risk of that. So it might not be the perfect scan body, but it's just something for an example, because you need the scan flags, you need that photogrammetry, and then you also need the soft tissue to align with the facial, which is kind of like breadcrumbs. So the facial and then the vertical. And then, for example, if we got like 6 implants on the lower, you need to have the soft tissue contour at the time of surgery, for example, and then the facial. That's like the Oreo cookie, and then on top is the upper teeth, and then there's the distance between them.
Right.
And all that information, upper lower scan bite 360, and then you have another folder where you have basically an overdenture that captures the soft tissue with the healing collars. All that information, correct, goes to the designer, and then you can get a proposal for a prototype on the lower. And now this is, out of everything else, night guard, crowns, this is probably the biggest bang for your buck when you're trying to print something. So we might as well just go for that and talk about that one, because that would be the reason I'd get into it. You know what I mean? Because
yeah. And that's the reason we're proving to be the gold standard in the All-in-X workflows, because of that exact thing. Allows you to print those prototypes in-house same day of surgery.
Yeah.
You're not having to pre-plan your prototypes and have the provisional done before the patient even walks in. You can do it all same day, as long as you're coordinating with that lab, because of the fact that within our software, all that alignment of all those different steps you're talking about all happens right in one spot. So it saves the lab 30 minutes of time doing this alignment in exocad, so they don't have to do all that because it's all done for them. So they get the scans in one nice file stack. They do their design quicker, send you back that design, which you then print in-house in 12 minutes off of our new printer, and then another 15 to 20 minutes of post-processing. You can send your patient home with teeth the same day the surgery happens. And that's why we're on the map right now.
That's cool. Okay, so what you would do is, after placing the implant, and what I'm doing now is ordering stackable guides to get to that point. And then healing collar, scan, upper lower bite, 360, and the scan flags. There's a coordination with the designer standing by, right? And that designer's, somewhere in the world, and when you click design, right, that's when they go to work on that. And that design takes 10 to 15, 20 minutes or what?
Yeah, depending on their proficiency in exocad or whatever software they're using.
Sure.
Yes. And so the fact of the matter is, within the software, the soft tissue aligns to the scan flags, as well as the pre-op data aligns to the post-op data. So we make sure that their VDO is exactly where it should be, that vertical dimension of occlusion, and their resting position is as natural as it should be. And they do their design in 20 minutes, send you back that design, you print out, and you're ready to go.
Okay, good. There's a couple topics so in dentistry, from everyone that's doing this is using fiduciary markers.
Yeah, I was saying fiduciary, but I was correcting one. Fiducial is the correct
fiducial
term.
markers. Yeah, you're right.
Another thing to point out,
I think fiduciary is like fiduciary responsibility. It's a financial word, right?
Yeah, because I was using that too.
Right. Good. Well, I'm glad we're talking about this. That it's fiducial markers. Probably the root word fiducial would probably mean to the source, or
a reference point.
A reference, or something that has to do with. I think it comes from a root word of loyalty, from Fido. I think Fido, the dog, is always loyal, and it showed up in a Rembrandt. Whenever you have a painting and you see a dog, it's like the symbol of like loyalty and like that always true. And I think the Marines have that phrase. I'm pretty sure this comes from Latin, where semper fidelis. So fidelity, you've heard that, right?
Yeah.
Fidelis is always true, or like super accurate, and so the Marines semper fidelis literally means always true, or always loyal.
Interesting.
Yeah. So fiducial markers, great. And I'm glad. Thanks for correcting me. That's great.
It's not even like so much because it's not really a correction, because fiduciary is also right in a sense. But someone said it to me once, and I was like, I'm gonna stick with saying fiducial now. And whenever I hear someone say fiduciary, I usually don't correct them. But I'm like, in this situation, it wouldn't be the worst thing.
Now, when you hear fiducial or fiduciary,
I'm gonna think of Fido. Is what I'm gonna think. I'm gonna think of Fido the dog.
Semper Fidelis, the Marines, and the dog in the painting. Yeah. If you go to an art museum, and you get like a little bit of classic. There was some at the end of undergrad. I had an excellent humanities professor that taught me that, and I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, that's where that's where that root word comes from. But
the more you know.
Yeah, this ability to, I think. Maybe we won't have to place those fiducial markers, right, in the future, or are they still necessary?
I think it's going to remain that way for some time, just because you want some marker that you have in the mouth that's in the same spot before the surgery and after the surgery. So when you align those together, so there will always be some kind of fiducial. I don't really foresee that changing unless if you don't use a fiducial, like you don't put a bone screw in, if they have existing teeth, those teeth can also act as the fiducial. It's actually the best kind of fiducial. So you don't. Another method I learned at the Koi Center is like how do I say? It's kind of like a step-by-step. It adds an extra step into the workflow, but it also allows to make sure that everything is going to fit the way it should. And so what Dr. Marta said is in her surgery, she'll do her pre-op scans, but then if she's doing 6 implants, say on the upper, she'll only do 3 of the implants at a time. She'll place those 3, and then she'll do another scan with those teeth that she hasn't yet extracted,
right,
to make sure that VDO is going to be perfect. So once she captures again the same bite with only those 3 existing teeth, then she'll extract those after we get the bite for a second time, just for an extra copy of data, because why not have it?
Right.
So then she extracts those 3 final teeth, and then from there, she just uses that record that she took to get the bite. So I thought that was kind of interesting that she was using the fiducials, but she just added one step in the workflow, just taking an extra bite scan in the middle of the surgery to make sure that the occlusion was still going to be perfect.
Okay, good. Well, the companies right now that I'm aware of are PIC, iCam, Micron Mapper, and Shining. There's a conversation in dentistry about the difference between grammetry and photogrammetry. You want to talk about that? Yeah,
I'll talk about it a little bit. So it's kind of a hot topic. Some doctors will debate for hours on end that what we have isn't true photogrammetry, but I'll tell you it is. And Dr. Isaac Tao will debate any person on it for hours on end. But what grammetry is it's just taking the geometry of a shape and using that geometry to determine the positions of those implants. What photogrammetry is, it takes not only the geometry, but a shape and correlates the shape to a measurement. And that's the difference. So photogrammetry uses a shape plus a measurement and geometry, whereas grammetry is just purely using geometry. And so there's a significant difference in the accuracy levels that are achievable from photogrammetry to grammetry. And it's anywhere from 70 to 120 microns of discrepancy that we're talking about, which, doesn't seem like a lot, but when you think about it, I was explaining this one time, the average strand of hair thickness is 70 microns. So, I mean, that's the level of accuracy we're talking about, 70 microns is the thickness of a hair. And so they say for implant dentistry, the goal is to be under 150 microns of accuracy. If you're under 150, you should be good to go.
Yep.
Grammetry wavers right around 100. I think some of the best can get down to like 70 or 80, but all the way up to about 150 microns. Okay. So you're, kind of borderline, you're running some risk. Whereas with photogrammetry, you're looking at down to 18 microns to around like 45 for some of the best systems that are out there. So you're looking at twice as accurate between photogrammetry and grammetry.
Okay. How do you think that argument came up? Why would one company say, well, we're photogrammetry and they're not?
Just because they have a stake in the industry and they don't want to see another company succeed. And so a lot of people will say, oh, well, your photogrammetry isn't real because you're taking, more than one image. And it's once you start combining images, you create what's called stitching. And as a scanner is acquiring data, it stitches all these individual images together to create the STL file or the scan of itself in its entirety. And if you're stitching, well, then it's not true photogrammetry. Well, it's also not entirely true because a photogrammetry machine like the iCam or Micromapper, they still have to combine an intraoral scan to the picture that it's taking. So it's still stitching. So in that case, what they're saying isn't real photogrammetry then either. And some people will debate for hours on end, and it's really neither here nor there. What it really comes down to is it's taking a shape and correlating the shape to a measurement. And And that's that. Our technology, they've coined a term, is video stream based photogrammetry. So our photogrammetry is taking a video, it's collecting all those data points of those dots and doing all the measurements, and that's what the photogrammetry is.
Okay, so with PIC, for example, the photogrammetry scan is like from a ways away. It's like from like 3 feet away, right?
Yeah, and it's one shot. It's just one image that's getting taken from, I don't know, 2 or 3 of the cameras. And that's where it's doing all the calculations.
Right. And so what I think I hear you saying is that is going to be unnecessary, and 3D Shiny is not interested in working on anything like that. Instead, they feel like, hey, what our system is already reaching the acceptable levels of accuracy, right?
Yeah. Oh, more than, we've got the studies to prove it.
Good.
And I don't really know that saying it's unnecessary is really the right way to put it. It's just a different way of doing it. And, I'm not knocking them at all. Like the PIC is proven to be the most accurate. It's down to an 18 micron level of accuracy, whereas ours was sitting at 27 microns. So with a tolerance of 5. So, I mean, we're talking about 9 microns of a difference. So barely anything at all. What it really comes down to is the workflow that it provides. Yeah. And the fact that it's an all-in-one solution. You don't have to have a $40,000 photogrammetry unit alongside your $30,000 Trio scanner, alongside your $30,000 or $40,000 other printer setup. So you're looking at almost $100,000 depending on what solution you're looking at for photogrammetry. Whereas ours, it's $20,000, $21,000 for
everything.
Our intraoral scanner and photogrammetry, and you get everything you need to get the ball rolling. So it's significantly less expensive, and the workflow is actually faster for what it allows to be done. We're the only one that the alignment of the soft tissue to the scan flags happens within our software, as well as the scan flags converting to virtual scan bodies of whichever implant system the doctor likes to use. So with that all being done inside of our software, that's why the labs love it so much, because they can do their design so much quicker because they don't have to spend 30 to 45 minutes of tedious aligning these data points together in exocad, whereas ours does it for them. Sure, some labs might be able to do it faster, maybe say 10 minutes or 20 minutes, but especially if you're combining with a face scanner as well, being, again, the fact that the alignment happens within our software of the intraoral scans to the face scans, it's a huge benefit to a lab, because I was at a lab down in Utah. They were scanning with their clinic was using the Instarisa, and they told me they spend 45 minutes aligning the intraoral scans to the face scans. And I'm like, really? Because ours does it in 10 seconds. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a huge difference, and the quality is there.
Yeah, that's great. And is it the facial scanner that you guys have? Which one's newer, the intraoral scanner or the facial scanner?
The MediSmile launched in 2022, I believe. Okay.
So the intraoral scanner's the latest, right?
Or early 23. It was not too long. It was introduced, I think. That's a great question. I don't actually know the exact release date of the MediSmile, but I'll say overall the MediSmile is newer in general to the market, just because not as many offices have a face scanner. Right. Our intraoral scanner came out in 2017. Yep. The Elite came out September of 24, and the wireless version of the Elite came out in May of this year. But yeah, just generally speaking, intraoral scanners are a lot more. They're used a lot more in the industry right now than the face scanner, but those offices that are using the face scanner are benefiting so much. Yeah. It's really my favorite thing we offer, purely from the patient experience standpoint and the patient communication standpoint, case presentations. And that's just the one side. The other side that's even cooler is what the lab gets. It's a lab's dream to have the amount of data the face scanner provides. They're not just using the papilla and guessing where the midline is based off the papilla. They can see all the proportions. I have a slight cant in my smile. Right. And so the MediSmile would really benefit someone like me because of the cant I have in my mouth. It's going to make sure that everything is going to look nice and pretty the way I'm used to it.
Well, you're beautiful just the way you are, man. And I'm sure the ladies feel the same way. But the thing that people don't understand is that what a dental lab sees is basically just an arch of teeth without the face.
Right.
And so they're really guessing on on a three-dimensional object that has to look good in the face. So the fact that the facial scanner exists at all gives the dental offices that have one a big advantage. And we've really enjoyed using, both Instarisa and the MediSmile. The sharpness of the MediSmile is something that my labs are saying, like, okay, so the Instarisa has better clarity, and I can show you a side by side there. But the ease of scanning is night and day with that. Like, my assistants are literally just having my patients just like face, and they're done. And so I want,
I'd be curious. Yeah, I'd be curious to see that. We can try to dial it in because it really is kind of dependent on lighting. So if we can get some kind of setup with these light boxes or something, it can really, really help the sharpness and clarity of those scans. Because I was in an office here in Utah, and they had the Instarisa, and the scans I saw, it was like no comparison. There were the scatter on the teeth, and it wasn't capturing things nearly as crisp as ours was. But
what's the best practice then? Like, what is it? Lights off in the room, or a spotlight, or what?
Yeah. So what I've found to be best is ambient lighting. Sometimes I'll turn off the lights actually in a room with just a little bit of natural lighting coming into the room. That's usually what I find to be best. Like, I went into Dr. Marta's office, and they were testing out the MediSmile. They had a big light box similar to what these light boxes are in here. And she had all the lights off and just the natural lighting coming in. And so I think an environment like that is best. And I mean, you can kind of tweak around with it and see, but I definitely think, I'm not going to say every time you take a scan, it's going to be perfect. Like, you might have to rescan once or 2 or 3 times to make sure that it's as perfect as you need it to be.
Okay.
I'll say more often than not, I'm happy with the first result I get.
Yeah.
But,
with Instarisa, we're supposed to turn the lights off in the room. So we're always doing that. But with MediSmile, not doing that. We're also scanning in a different room. With the MediSmile, has like 2 windows. None of the lights get turned off, nothing like that. There's no consideration for lighting. So we'll start doing that.
It can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can easily bring in, a light for extra lighting if that's what we need. But is it optical, laser, or both?
It's an infrared camera that it's using. So it's projectors as well as 2 cameras. So there's a 1.2 megapixel camera as well as a 5.0 megapixel texture camera.
Okay. So I wonder if we should be turning off the overhead lights.
I would. Okay. Yeah. All right. I mean, you play around with it, and we can even do some testing and dial that in. But definitely lighting in the room can make all the difference in the world. Because sometimes I take a scan, I'm like, that's more distortion than I'm used to. Like, we were at a trade show, and we have these, banners behind us, and there's these lights that stick over the banners, and the lights were shined like right onto the face, and so it really caused like way too much brightness in the teeth, and it wasn't capturing. But I turn those lights down, and then boom, I'm getting nice, sharp, crisp scans, and I'm like, yeah, beautiful. So
all right,
lighting makes all the difference in the world.
All right, sounds good.
Even in intraoral scanning, you never want to have an overhead light when you're intraoral scanning, just because the structured white light that comes from the scanner itself is all the lighting it needs. If you have extra light, it can cause color distortion too. And that's not just our scanner, that's across the board.
That's great. Yeah. We're going to start doing that. And that's great. And I know what you mean. If you have too much light, like for example, like isolite, like where there's backlight.
Yeah.
You can just kind of wash out any shadows, and you lose a little bit of depth perception there. So good. All right, cool. Well, we're going to keep iterating on this, keep getting better. 3D Shining's a company that I've really enjoyed, and
Shining 3D.
Oh, sorry, Shining 3D. Shining 3D. Thank you. Tell me about that. Tell me about the name. Is it?
That's a great question. Second time I've got that actually in the last week. I don't really have a great answer. All I do know is, one of our slogans when I actually got to go to China in January, we would all say, concentrate and keep shining. So
concentrate and keep shining.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm not exactly sure where the name comes from, other than the fact that the technology we have shines. It shines very bright, and we're really making our mark on the world right now. We have a global presence. We probably have one of our global presence. The U.S. market's really kind of been lagging a little bit, but we're growing now, and we're really putting ourselves on the map. We have almost 25,000 intraoral scanners out in the world. So our presence is growing strongly in the U.S. right now. We're getting a lot of people coming to us saying, hey, we've heard about you, and we've heard great things. And as soon as I show them the scanner, they're like, the things I'm hearing are true, because they see how fast it is, and the accuracy is there. I get great feedback from labs. They're saying they're, getting quality scans. They're able, and they're not having to do remakes. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah. And exactly, that's the most important thing. And I am interested in patient care, access to care, and getting the lowest cost dentistry possible. So that's going to require these companies like Shining 3D to innovate, and I'm glad that they're pushing the limit on distribution and making this technology available, instead of what we see too often is protectionism, where the cost for the practitioners is really high unnecessarily, and so I'm interested in bringing that cost down.
Yeah,
and so I'm glad that more dentists can take that leap and buy that scanner and get going.
Yeah, it definitely makes it doable.
Yep.
Like I said a little bit earlier, for photogrammetry, you're looking around $100,000 of investment, but for other systems out there. But ours, for 45 grand, you can have the scanner, you can have photogrammetry, you can have a printer, the wash, the cure, you can have a face scanner for less than half the cost to pretty much build an entire in-house lab. The only thing we don't have is a mill. Yeah, it's an amazing price point that we offer things at, and the fact of the matter is, even with us being at a lower cost, the quality is just as good, if not better. When I used to sell the Trios, it was always the hardest thing to overcome was these subscriptions and $2,000. Can you pay for an extra year of subscription for me? And I'm like, I can't do that, but I don't have that problem with this. We have no hidden fees. There's no subscriptions, no pay-per-clicks. All the modules, all the bells and whistles come with it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an amazing solution, and I'm really happy to be working for this company. I haven't ever been happier in my life. It really provides me a level of satisfaction I didn't know was possible, working in this field. And I got this question here a week and a half ago. I was doing a demo in Renton, and one of the most well-articulated questions, plural, I was given from this office manager, and normally I get, some good questions, but this guy had really good questions, and they were impressed with all of my answers, and I could feel that. It was a really good connection we made. And one of the questions he asked me was, why are you here? Why do you do this? What's in it for you? And I was like, wow, that was really deep question for just me scanning this, doing a demo. And the reason being is, why I love so much what I do is we provide not only a better experience for you as the clinician in your workflow, but the end result that the patients are getting is really what impacted me more than I ever thought it could. I even get the chills just talking about it, because it's so cool seeing someone come into a clinic, they're not happy, visibly not happy. They can't smile. They don't want to smile.
Yeah. And they've been frustrated with previous dentistry.
Yeah. And, they do their face scans. They barely show any teeth, if any, if at all. And then they go through the whole procedure, they get everything done, and you do a face scan at the end, and the smile is night and day difference, because they're so happy with the end result. And that's really what just impacted me more than I ever thought it would. Just seeing not only we're providing you guys a better workflow, but the end result that the patients are getting, they're getting in and out faster and getting that awesome result. So that's why I love doing what I do.
Yeah, thanks a lot. You're right. You're restoring hope in the industry. There's a lot of frustration in dentistry with removable products. There's people are going. There's I see a lot of frustration. So restoring that hope is excellent. It's a great reason that you do what you do. So thank you.
Yeah. And thank you for doing what you do. I mean, it's an important thing. And, the mouth is something we use all day, every day. And, it's a important part of life. And it's just cool to be a part of a company that cares and provides a solution that is making the world better in a sense. So,
yeah, I mean, you'll be surprised people will spend money on, a sport motorcycle and a pop-up camper trailer, what I mean? And then never use those things.
Right.
And then they're just frustrated, and they don't know that there's a way to get excellent dentistry at a cost that will fit into those budget. Those budget parameters are well within reach.
Sure.
And so we're glad that there's a way back. A lot of dentists shy away from removable or implants.
Yeah.
Because they don't have an entry point. They can't see a way forward.
Right. And something else they brought up to me that I kind of already knew, but to hear it from someone else really drilled it into me. I'm like, man, I should start mentioning this in my demos. And it doesn't apply to everyone, but with the products and solutions that we provide, it really allows a doctor to access a different kind of patient.
Yeah.
So with the face scanner or with the photogrammetry that comes with our solution, they can take on a whole new demographic or type of patient that normally they would just refer out.
Yep.
But now they have the ability to actually tackle these more difficult cases.
Yep.
And so they said that to me, and they're like, wow, you're really opening up the doors more than we ever thought you could. And I was like, wow, I'm doing that? And I was like, that's so cool.
Yep.
So to have that kind of impact is pretty awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people just have given up. They think that what they got from Dr. Smith 20 years ago is the best you could do,
Yeah.
And so they're not even looking. They're buying, an RV trailer and suffering. They can't eat a steak, you know what I mean? They do not know that they could enjoy smiling again or confident smiling or like enjoy meals, crunchy, tasty, crispy chicken again. And they're not doing it. Because they've given up. So
sure.
I think that in a short time, 5-10 years, that's going to be rapidly better.
Yeah.
I just heard that, with AI reaching astonishing levels of intelligence simultaneously in chemistry, physics, mathematics, that AI is going to be inventing medicine within next year. Inventing new medicines.
Yeah, I mean, I think some places are already doing this, but they're 3D printing organs.
Wow.
So like live tissue, they're printing. And so that's really the future too. 10, 20 years from now, we could be printing eyeballs for all I know. Maybe not eyeballs, but I mean, that's the kind of stuff that could be, in the future. And 3D printing makes it doable. So,
one of the things that you brought up eyeballs, I think that's a funny one. Let's say we're in the industry of like creating an artificial eye, right?
Yeah.
There is no expectation that eye is going to work like through vision, right? It's got to look like the real thing, a glass eye. But there's no expectation that it's actually going to work functional.
Yeah.
That's the difference between dentistry. This is a funny, and I'm not complaining at all, but the level of expectations people have in dentistry is different. Not only does that eye have to look great, but it has to function like the original real thing.
Sure.
So there's a higher level of a higher standard in dentistry. There's a higher level of expectation for people. Their teeth not only have to look good, but they have to like work like the real thing.
Right.
So that's something that is different than like if we're in like other prosthetics.
Sure.
Other prosthetics either have to function like it might be an artificial leg, but no one expects that to look exactly like a leg, but it functions really well, hopefully. But in dentistry, we have to do both.
I hear you. Yeah, it's and we started talking about eyes, and I like immediately feel bad for my dad because I don't mean to get onto a bad topic, but he had a surgery done and his eyesight got worse. And yeah, it was just like the surgeon, the eye doctor just didn't do a good job and ended up damaging it more than he was supposed to, like fix it. And
what procedure did he have?
I don't know off the top of my head what the name of the procedure was.
Is it a vision corrective procedure or something else?
Yeah, they went in and did something, inside the lens of his eye, and it ended up making things worse when it was supposed to be better.
Okay, so radial keratotomy is where they make these radial cuts to make the lens easier to accommodate or to change the focus. Was it something like that?
I think it might have been something like that.
That's the most common.
Yeah, and he's been really, really, beyond words, mad at the end result. Like to the point where he's talking about doing lawsuits and he tried. Yeah, it's been a long process, and he's talked to some lawyers about it, and just certain things in the way the contract's written and stuff. And he's at the point where he wants to go stand on the curb of this doctor's office with a sign,
I didn't know that.
to make people not go in because of how bad it messed him up.
Wow. I don't hear anything negative about until now. I haven't heard anything.
He'll go on and on about it too. That's why I hate to even bring it up, because it's like, man, it's your eyesight. You don't get that back.
Yeah. Public service announcement.
He went from struggling a little bit to read in video games, like some of the words, like, and now he can't barely at all. And it's like, I was supposed to be able to read these words, and now it's even worse. And so it's like,
and how old is he?
He's 61 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Tell me a little bit more about your dad. We got into it before, and he's been in dentistry before, and you told me that he remembers me from a long time ago in implants. Is that right?
Implant Direct. I don't know if you ever purchased through them. I think that might have been
a little bit.
Yeah. So he started out back in the late 90s with LifeCore.
Right.
And I can never remember the company that LifeCore turned into, but another implant company, one of the bigger ones. He's worked with Zimmer, Biomet, now ZimV. He's worked with IDS, Implant Direct. He's created many of his own businesses as well, very much entrepreneur-minded. He's my cousin, also Mike, did a lot of these projects with my dad. One of the things they invented was this push-up dumbbell. And, similar like the perfect push-up that just like twists, right? You go down, you twist. But they invented this thing called originally it was called the ISO Shred, and then they changed it to the ISO Core X.
And I like ISO Shred better.
Yeah.
But ISO Core X.
Yeah. And so it's this push-up dumbbell, and it has like a wheel on each side of the dumbbell, like two wheels with like computer roller chairs, so they can move omnidirectionally. Wow. So you're doing a push-up, but you have to hold your entire core still, because they can slip out from you in any direction. Wow. So you can do ab rollouts with them. You can do flies with them.
In any direction, huh?
Yeah, any direction. And you use these things for 5 minutes, and you feel it for 3 days. Like,
wow. So you're in a plank position.
Yeah.
And then,
well, most people, like, if you can't do many, even me, like, I'll just go from my knees, and I'll do push-ups on my knees to do flies, because doing a fly from a normal push-up position, you got to be super strong.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they slip out, and you hit your face on the tile, or,
Well, there's a concept in fitness, time under tension. I think it was coined by a medical doctor. I think it was an ER doctor, and he wrote a book called Body by Science. And it's very rigorous. It basically is really small weight, and you have to like do really slow reps. So like imagine a squat that takes you like 30 seconds. So you're basically holding time under tension.
Yep.
And you might not be using very much weight at all. Maybe just the bar, or 95 pounds or something like that.
Yep.
Instead of trying to do 400-pound, squats or
I hear you.
deadlifts, and it's better for your joints. So I started it, got into it a little bit, thought, wow, nobody's going to work out with me. This is like, it's pretty bad. So it reminds me of that. So this Life Core, what is it called?
ISO Core X.
ISO Core X.
Yep. Or ISO Shred, but ISO Core X is what.
Nice.
And they got, Brock, one of the radio guys around here that does the sports, they got him to do one of the commercials.
Great voice.
Yeah, great voice.
Of the Seahawks kind of thing.
Yeah, and then they had Steve Weatherford, who was the punter for the New York Giants. This dude was ripped, like the most jacked punter you've ever seen in your entire life. He was one of the sponsors for it as well for some time, but and it still exists. My cousin is a brilliant mind. Also military guy. He operated heavy machinery, helicopters, and they're actually running a construction company right now around the Puget Sound. They do government bids and contracts and stuff, dirt work, and they've done some like sidewalks and that type of deal. But that's been my dad's main focus lately. He does want to retire soon, but truthfully, I don't think he'll ever actually retire just because that's just the way he is. He has to be doing something. Yep. But yeah, he's been a great mentor for me in a lot of ways, and someone I'm very, I don't take him for granted. Just the information and the wealth of knowledge that he has in the dental industry, and, talking with doctors, and just, how to present yourself in more ways than one. He has really helped me, shape me into the person I am, similar to, what Taekwondo has done for me too. And my master, John, who unfortunately passed away from brain cancer early 2020. So the studio shut down, but Taekwondo really molded me into the man I am today. So excellent. All the credit in the world to John too.
Okay, John, is that in South Seattle, or is that like Renton, or where?
It was in Maple Valley, which is where I'm from. The studio is called Phillips Taekwondo Center, PTC. Yeah.
Phillips Taekwondo Center.
Yep.
Is that John's last name?
Phillips, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. So how old were you when you started that?
I was 5 years old. So I started with one Taekwondo studio out of Fairwood, Renton area. And I think I did 1 or 2 classes, and it was like too much of a game. It didn't really feel like what Taekwondo should be. And so I only went to that studio a couple times, and then we went over to Phillips Taekwondo Center, which at the time was, I believe, Lee John or Lee's Taekwondo Center or something, but he ended up changing the name. But yeah, and then the rest was history. I went 3 days a week. My mom ended up starting a few years later. She also became a black belt.
Really?
Yeah, we competed all over the United States. I was cleaning my room, so it was kind of funny. We were all sitting downstairs a couple nights ago, and we hear this huge, loud crash, and we're like, what was that noise? And we walk upstairs, and it wasn't my niece. She was on her game playing Fortnite. Couldn't figure it out. Well, an hour later, I'm in my room, and I realize my tapestry for my closet was like bulging out. I'm like, what the heck? I pull my tapestry behind, and sure enough, my entire closet had collapsed.
Really?
And I was like, oh my God, I have way too many clothes, stuff sitting on my shelf. And it took us like 3 or 4 hours the following day to clean it up and get all my shelves put back. Anyways, what I'm getting at is, during cleaning my closet, we found these posters, and they're from my Taekwondo tournaments in 2006 and 2007, going to Atlanta, Georgia, and getting to compete in the Georgia Dome where the Falcons, the Atlanta Falcons play. And I got to fight on the field. I'm 9 years old, getting to compete on an NFL stadium field, and I took gold, so it was a lot of fun and just cool, team bonding. We had a team of probably 15 to 20 of us, all traveled to Atlanta and just to spar. Nice. And yeah, I really miss doing it. I don't do Taekwondo anymore, but I'm sure some of our friends have found some other studios, because unfortunately, as I said, our studio shut down, but some people still do it. And it's I wish my sister did it as well, but she didn't follow through. She quit. But
just the two of you?
Just me and my mom. Yeah. And it's just the level of care that John had with all of his students, and his wife had. And when I started out, I was 5 years old, 5.5, and the class was called the Little Ninjas.
Nice.
And so getting to be with the Little Ninjas and Patty, and she actually came and stayed at our house here not too long ago. But growing up, and then, it took me 5.5 years to get my black belt. And in that process, you have to go back and then teach the Little Ninjas. So you get to see the kids from where you were. And now I'm 10 years old, which felt like super old at the time, right? Yeah. I'm teaching these 5 and 6 year olds. So it's cool. It really comes full circle. And they just really, the path you had to take to get to the end wasn't some, money grab or, pay me X amount to get the next belt. That you had to go through all the proper procedures, and it was very extensive to get to the end.
Nice.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're teaching someone else as a 10-year-old, That probably does a lot for a 10-year-old, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Taught me more than I probably was able to actually take in back then, but it really did put things into perspective and give you that ability to, help coach someone and, have the control and be able to step into the ring with the 6-year-old when you've been doing this for 5 or 6 years, and to, show them the ropes without going too hard and, but still hard enough to the point where they're able to, push themselves too. And so it's a really fine line. And some people struggle with that a lot more than others. And that's one of the tenets of Taekwondo. It's self-control. And so like there's a guy who's a year older than me. His name's Chad. And Chad, he would go all out in sparring. So I was like, he was bigger than me and stronger and faster. He would not hold back. And I'm like, can you go a little bit easier? I'm like, come on, man. And some people just, they have that ability to, and self-awareness and self-control. And that's something that he got better at as he got older too. But it's really something I came to, I don't want to say took for granted until I trained some jujitsu and went to this jujitsu studio, and they had what felt like to me no self-control or we were rolling on the mat, and this guy I'm a white belt and he's like giving me zero entry anywhere. I'm like, man, this is brutal. Like, you gotta let me feel like I'm doing something right. Like, come on. And so it made me really realize like how much, just having a little bit of control and showing someone the ropes, it can leave a big mark on someone and the way they view things. So,
okay. Just a general overview. Taekwondo, Jiu-Jitsu, Karate, Judo. Those are the ones I'm aware of. And where are those from? What's the philosophy of each one of those?
Well, Taekwondo is a Korean sport. Okay. Karate, I'm not actually sure.
That's fine.
Jiu-Jitsu, it's very popular all around the world, most popular in Brazil. Yep. Judo, I'm not sure where it originates from.
But judo, I understand, is like mostly like defensive, like reversals. Is that right? Or throws?
It's a lot of throws. Yeah, hip throws. Just takedowns. There's no like striking in judo.
Okay.
And karate, there is a lot more striking with hands than there is with feet.
Yep.
But they do both. And like Taekwondo, we do hands as well. Like you punch, but you don't punch to the head in Taekwondo, but you can kick to the head. Just some of the slight differences there. But yeah, funnily enough, my dad actually, bring him back into the conversation. He ran a jiu-jitsu studio in, I don't know where it actually was based out of, somewhere around Renton. He actually brought the very first Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt into the state of Washington, Marcelo Alonso, who's one of the biggest names in jiu-jitsu today with just how well known he is. And it's kind of cool. A lot of the students, my dad never got black belt either, but a lot of the people in his studio now run their own gyms around the Puget Sound area. So it's kind of fun, lore, I guess.
Yeah.
My dad, I grew up watching the UFC from the time it like began.
Yeah.
So,
and was your dad into that jiu-jitsu and then Taekwondo?
He never really got into Taekwondo besides he'd come watch me spar and stuff. But yeah, he knows a lot of jiu-jitsu and the technique and stuff. And we would roll around when I was little and he would teach me all kinds of things. So
for jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
But hey, but you started in Taekwondo and stayed there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Did it for a solid 12 years. It really, it taught me courtesy, integrity, respect, indomitable spirit, humility, perseverance, some of the tenets of Taekwondo. And, we had to research extensively these things, to get to the black belt. It was a rigorous, process. To get to a red belt, it took a minimum of 3 years to get to a red belt. And that's if you were going as fast as you possibly could.
Really?
And then once you become a red belt, you have to wait at least another year. So you're a red belt for like 6 months. You do another test. You get a piece of black tape around your red belt. You do another 6 months, 9 months. You get a second black tape, and they're individual tests. They do one test a month with a group of students that have all gotten to that point where they're able to test for the next belt. But red belt, once you get those 2 black pieces of tape, you are eligible to receive an invitation to test for your black belt.
Okay.
And then once enough red belts achieved 2 pieces of black tape, you could get up to 4. Not very many people were red belts for that long, but there were some, just because he didn't want to do a black belt test with only like 2 red belts, just because it's a very long process. So you get your invitation in the mail, and then you have like a pre-test, and you have to go run a 5K in, a good time. Like if you're only one person ever actually failed the test for the 5K just because he felt like she could have done better. Okay. There was like, you kind of had, individual times you needed to hit. You didn't know what your time was, but as long as you gave everything you had, you were likely going to. I think I did mine in like 18 minutes or something. It was pretty fast, or good. 19 minutes. And so you do your 5K, and then before you do your 5K, you have a written test. So everything you've learned up to that point, you're getting tested on. Then you do your run. You come back from your run. All the people that are current black belts in the studio are there, and you have another test. So you go through all of your forms, all of your technique. You have your pre-test, and then you pass your pre-test. Okay, then you start IT training, which is another 6-month-long process. You have to show up to class at least 3 times a week. If you miss one day, he's going to be on your behind for it. You cannot miss a single class. And then after you do your class once a week, you have IT training. So you stay an extra hour, 2 hours, where he goes over even more stuff with you. You do some more research. So you do that for 6 months. And then you have your black belt test. And that's an all-day event on a Saturday, usually lasts 8 to 9 hours. You go through everything. You build a forum with your classmates that you're also testing with, like a creative forum that you all have to be perfectly in sync with, and present. And then you do board breaking. And then one of the coolest things you got to do at the end of the black belt test was a brick break. So we have these solid, long gray bricks that are, 2 or 3 inches thick. And for your first Dan, you break 1, and then second Dan, you try to break 2, and third Dan, you try to break 3. And cool. Yeah, and that's the process. And then from there, once you do your black belt test, then you have to wait another like 6 to 9 months to get the belt. You still have to continually show up 3 nights a week it's like almost a 2-year process. Wow. Once you get to that point to get the belt.
Are there any other martial arts that are breaking stuff?
Yeah.
Karate does too.
Yeah, they do board breaks. A lot of times in the competitions though, the boards they're breaking, and this is true for Taekwondo at times too, they're like
smaller,
very small. The boards we were breaking, they were like a solid inch and a half.
What about the type of wood? Is there standardized stuff, or do they get the boards from a certain place?
I don't actually remember exactly. I was never the one to purchase the boards. That's a great question. I don't know the type of wood. Generally, though, the drier the wood is, the easier it was to break. So a lot of times we would like take the wood, and we'd have like our stack of boards at our house, and we would put it like in front of the fireplace to like, try to make it a little bit.
Take the water out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And sometimes even then, if like a board had a pretty big knot in it, like,
that would be hard.
It would take some strength, but
cool.
Yeah.
Well, when I was a kid, I didn't have a chance to do that. I did do some wrestling for a little bit,
Cool.
And that taught me a lot. But sports guided me in many ways. So I'm glad to hear that was your experience with Taekwondo. The character and the character building and all those topics that you mentioned.
Yeah, and
I've heard about that, but I haven't heard it articulated so well, and the description of the amount of work that went in sounded like it went through your high school, all the way through high school. Is that right?
Just about, yeah. I kind of stopped going as much, I think, in my senior year of school, of high school. But yeah, from the time I was 5 until I was 17, 18, I went religiously. Yeah, and the discipline that it taught me, and just, ability to keep pushing forward in life and not let something knock you down. And if it does, you get right back up and you keep going and you shake it off. And, it's just, it really, and integrity is so important too. And just doing the right thing when no one's watching. Like, it's just, I get the chills thinking about it, just because I'm a very firm believer. It's kind of a good segue into like talking about karma.
Yeah.
I'm a very firm believer in karma. whether it affects us in this life or our next. I think it really, there's some level of aura, I guess, for a lack of a better word, that, having a bunch of good karma will do for you. It's just like if you treat people how you want to be treated and you do the right thing. And I think karma can work very, very fast, or maybe it doesn't work at all. It's kind of funny. I talked about this in my last quarter of university up at Western. It was my leadership class, and I can't remember exactly what the question was, but it was something along the lines of like, what's something you believe in? Something along those lines. And every person in the class was asked this, and we all had to stand up at our seats and talk to the whole entire class about our belief. And I said, I'm a firm believer in karma. And the professor, I could tell, was intrigued. And she's like, well, believe it or not, one of the other professors who teaches the same class, his whole like purpose of like what his main thing he was studying at the time was karma. And if whatever you do, does it affect you or others in your life? Is it actually true? Like, does karma exist? And I was like, wow, that's an interesting thing to study. And so I just thought that was, and that's why I say, whether or not it affects us in this life or our next. I'm also a believer in reincarnation, and I think that the more seeds we plant and water, the more fruitful things can be for us in ways that we can't even fathom.
Reincarnation is basically tied to some type of Eastern philosophy. I can't remember.
Probably like Buddhism. Yeah.
And
or I think Taoism is another one, but
right. And you're going to be a vegetarian if you're believing in reincarnation, correct?
I am not a vegetarian.
Okay.
But I know like some people do feel that way about certain things, but yeah, I'm definitely not a vegetarian.
Right, but holy cows, for example, right?
And so my mom's parents, my grandparents, unfortunately, my grandpa just passed away a month or 2 months ago now. They are Seventh-day Adventists, so they don't eat pork.
I see.
And similar to like Muslims, they don't, or what do you call it? It's considered haram, or
So is that all year, or certain parts of the year?
That's all year. Okay. Yeah, they do not eat pork.
Are there any religions that don't eat pork certain times, but other times they can, or not?
I mean, in Christianity and Catholicism, or any branch of Christianity, they do. I don't know the name of it.
When they
fast, they fast so they can give up certain things. So maybe like in that sense, they could give up that, but they go pretty intense into what they're, they create the rules for themselves for that.
So the pork, the not eating pork is from the Old Testament, right?
I don't exactly know.
Yeah, and how it was prepared. And
something mentioned in the Quran or the Bible somewhere that whoever invented the religion said that this verse said this, so we're not going to eat this, essentially. Something along those lines. I don't know what the exact verbiage is, but and in a way I kind of understand what they're saying. And even like, it's interesting you say, well, are you vegetarian? Because even when you think about like cows or chicken, a lot of people who are vegetarian, that's exactly why, because the way that these animals are treated in their lives, the feelings that they're having and the stress that they're going through, you kill them and then you eat that. Are you then taking on that stress that they lived through their entire life with?
Yeah, they're doing it for more of a spiritual reason instead of a health reason.
Right.
And I think that diet would be like, they would say plant-based diet, right?
Yeah.
If they're doing it for their health. Where, vegetarians would typically I would experience that spiritual reason, right? The concept of wholeness, or like the concept of like karma, or reincarnation, and that's why I bring it up with with your diet. And last time we almost did this podcast together, you showed me your necklace.
Right? Yeah. my pine cone here.
Yeah. Where'd you get that?
So,
or did you make it?
I did not make it, but I do have a friend that can make them pretty nicely. This one I actually, so what's cool about them is they're made in Bellingham.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's called.
And that's where you went to school, right?
Yeah, Third Eye Pine Cones is the name of the company, and
do they have a store, or is it like
I think it's just
selling it online?
Online.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm sure there are stores up there that definitely do. But what's so funny about it is I didn't buy it in Bellingham. I bought it in Ohio, of all places.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You were in Ohio?
I was in Ohio. Yes.
Wow,
I know,
awesome.
right?
What part of Ohio? My brother lives there.
Legend Valley.
Legend Valley?
Yeah. So we we flew into Chicago actually.
Yeah.
Because flights were significantly cheaper in Chicago than they were to fly into like Columbus, because it was like a last minute thing. I went there for a music festival. It's called Lost Lands.
Okay.
It's
that's
like
the band?
Or that's the name of the music festival.
Okay,
the guy that puts it on, his name is Excision. Yeah. And he's like the biggest dubstep producer name in the world. And so Lost Lands is pretty much like dubstep Disneyland, as people call it.
Okay.
It's a dinosaur themed, lots of fun. And I was walking around the vendors and I saw the pine cones, and it's a very popular thing among people my age. Yeah. Anywhere from 20 to 40 that go to concerts. Yeah. That a lot of people have these, and I'm like, oh man, I've always wanted one, but I just never bought one until I was there. And I'm like, oh, well, this will be a cool thing to remember. Like, this is where I got the pine cone, even though it's made in my own state, but to get it in Ohio, it just, I don't know, it added a little bit of sentimental value to it.
Sure.
And ever since I bought it, this was last September, I only take it off really when I'm getting in the shower. It's just like, I don't know, it's really become a piece of me, and pine cones are very symbolic. It's sealed with an epoxy, so it's very smooth. It's got the Ohm sign back here. It's got the flower of life. There's an Australian opal in there, which is said to help with communication. I don't know, if I ever forget to put it on and I'm like going somewhere, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm missing something now. Nice. But yeah, pine cones are symbolic of the third eye, and all throughout history too, like even in ancient Egyptian times, the leaders, they would have staves, and on the top of their staves, they'd have pine cones, or the shape of one. And they, as I said, the third eye, which is also from the pineal gland. And so that's where the third eye is said to be, or it's also called the seat of your soul. That's kind of the gist. It's just a little token that I carry with me that is kind of become a piece of me, and I feel like it helps me for some reason. Like just in communication, and there's something about a pine cone that I think is just cool too. So
great. Now, is that the base of the pine cone? Is that the bottom of it?
It's like the heart of it. Yeah.
Okay. And when you take apart a pine cone, you get that shape.
Right. Yeah. And it's really unique. Its pattern that it has. Right. It almost looks like a spider.
So that's the natural shape right there?
Yeah.
It's just stained?
Right. Yeah. It's sealed with epoxy, and then the flower of life, which is my favorite sacred geometry. I've got it like tattooed right here as well.
Okay, so that's a combination of circles?
Yeah, and it's like the when we're formed in the womb, it is the shape of our cells as they come together, essentially.
Okay.
So
when we're like 8 cells or 10
and
cells, right?
It's, in my opinion, like what ties us together, like what holds our skin together is that pattern, the way that it's shaped. And it's seen all throughout history, and it has some pretty cool like stories behind it too, with like the like ancient Egyptian like myths and the way that like cities were formed based around the structure, and it's just kind of interesting. There's a book I read. It's called The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, and it's the author's name is Drunvalo Melchizedek, and he's just he gave himself that name, and it's kind of a collection of like all the religion and stories kind of combined together into what he thinks is the reason that we're here today and how we evolved in it. And it's kind of like a fan fiction type book, but some of what he says is very interesting and just has some cool ideas.
Did you go to 4 years at Western Washington?
I did 2 years because I did Running Start.
Okay, gotcha. So you were you graduated with some credits, right? And then
yes, and I almost regret doing it, but I also don't because I saved a lot of money. Yeah. But at the same time, I was done with college before I even turned 21. So I didn't really even get to experience Bellingham like in its full. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I did. I stayed in the dorms for 1 year, and then we stayed in a house with 5 of us for another year. And then I slept in a Harry Potter closet under the stairs for the last quarter of my college because I didn't want to get onto a lease for a whole nother year, which I almost wish I did, because then I don't know, I felt like I rushed through it a little too much, but also it had its advantages still, because that's the reason why I'm even here today. It allowed me to enter into my career into the dental field faster than I would have without. And who knows how things would have played out otherwise. So,
did you go straight from that to Shining?
I worked for
Trios, you said, right?
Yeah, I worked for a company down south in Renton that was a 3Shape reseller as well as a dental lab. And so I helped set up many offices across the entire nation with entire in-house lab setups with the Trios, Roland Mills, CarPrint, and being the fact that they were a lab, they know the whole workflow. So we could provide all the stain and glaze, all the burrs and literally everything you need that you're using in a lab for an office to start creating dentures in-house or crowns in-house. And that's, as we were talking about earlier, the direction that things are headed. So it really gave me an upper hand coming into Shining 3D because I understand the workflow from A to Z already.
Yep, right.
So when I started talking to a doctor or come into an office, even with you, Dr. Perry, when I first started our demo, I've told the story a couple of times. It's still the longest demo I've ever given. And what's so funny about it is I feel like in the first 10, 15 minutes, maybe even just 5 minutes, I kind of got this like feeling from you. You're like, this is just some other rep here and trying to sell me something, this and that. But then once we start talking and we start engaging, I could tell like you were like, wow, this guy actually kind of knows what he's talking about. Yep. And then we just kept going and going and going. And then the rest was history. And it's not the only time I've had that experience where I go into an office and I'm like, just the doctor looks at me like, oh, who's this kid? They don't know anything. I don't want them here. I don't want to listen to this spiel. But once I start talking and they realize that I'm not just here to sell you something and you're never going to hear from me again, that I really do care and love providing that on-site support afterwards. And
I remember that. And you're right. I did have that experience, building confidence.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily have any preconceived notions about Shining or you. I just probably approach dental sales from caution,
Sure.
From like, cautiously optimistic, And so, we did have a great demo. Thanks for giving me some credit there. And so, I'm naturally curious. I'm naturally curious.
Yeah.
So I think life's better that way. And did you study some religion or philosophy, or were you in computers at Western?
So I was actually just studying business. So
okay, good.
I was growing up. All my friends in one of my friend groups, they all went into computer science. So I thought that's what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. My first comp sci class at Western, my professor had the thickest French accent, and I could barely understand anything. And
that's rough.
I did not enjoy coding like I thought I would. It's like putting together a puzzle without knowing any of the puzzle pieces. You have to like create the puzzle pieces. Yeah. And I'm like, it was fun. It just wasn't for me. Maybe if I stuck with it a little bit longer, but I just had a bad experience and didn't really give it a second go. And I was like, that's not what I want to do. And so I hate to say it, but I feel like I took the easy road out just studying business. But
I think you know more about computers than you give yourself credit. I mean, based on what I've learned about you, you know more about it than most. And I think that in the future, you just have to have the creativity to give the AI prompts, because the computer can like code for you now, basically.
That's kind of why I said like I almost wish I did give it a second chance, because I mean, once you figure it out, and like you said, with the AI, they can pretty much do it all for you now. And so I know like some of my friends, they have it very easy now. They just like have the AI do it, and they can make a couple corrections like here or there. Yeah. But yeah, it's really come a long ways.
And it can check your stuff too. You can just like check this for errors, which I'm hearing about, which is great. But this has been great, man. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you've been really transparent. And this is one of my favorite podcasts of all time. I hope to have you back. We'll give it some time. We'll talk more about like where the industry is. Yeah. If you're open to it, I'd love to have you back, because this has been a real pleasure for me. I want to talk to your dad too pretty soon here. I know we're going out on the boat. You guys are in Cap Sani.
Correct. Yeah.
Anacortes. Right?
Yep. They're crabbing right now as we speak, actually.
Really?
They were picking up some pots, and they were headed back into Cap Sani now. I don't know exactly. I think they were up maybe around Lopez or something. I can't remember which island they went.
You gonna go
to.
join them? Or?
I may. We'll see how I'm looking on time. But
well, you might as well stick around up here, up north.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, we'll see how they're looking at on time when they're going to get back. But they should be getting back probably in the next 30 minutes or so. So I could pop over there. My niece is actually up crabbing with them this time too. She's 8. Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's great. Well, my son, he's 9, Luke, and he's at summer camp. So I'm going to go mountain biking with Shannon.
Cool.
So I'm going to go check out what she's up to. My wife, Shannon, and I are going to go mountain biking up at Galbraith.
That's the only place I've ever gone mountain biking. Yeah. My buddy Henry took me when I was in college out there. Mm-hmm. I really want to invest in a new mountain bike. I don't have one, so I don't know if you have any suggestions for me to look at, but that's like the next thing I want to pick up. I want to get into mountain biking. I want to get into rock climbing, and I picked up snowboarding again last year, so trying to keep myself busy and, going throughout. I need to start working out again, because I haven't been working out. So that's like, I need to find some other activity that is like a workout, but also I'm having a lot of fun,
Well, we've got a couple e-bikes, Specialized Levo SL. SL stands for super light. It's a little bit smaller battery, so it's not the bike's not as heavy.
I see.
And I recommend that because
what was it called again?
Levo SL.
Levo SL.
So the Specialized line has Levo. I think just means electric.
Gotcha.
SL is the SL for super light. I think it's just a smaller battery. It's probably half the size because the battery adds a lot of weight to the bike.
Does it charge as you go down?
No.
Okay.
But it's the pedal assist. It's not like an electric motorcycle where it's just press on your thumbs. You have to be pedaling.
I see.
Yeah, and there's 3 different levels. So you can have like eco mode, which is not going to help you very much.
Sure.
But the battery will last longer. Or the boost if you're going uphill. Mm-hmm. It really just lets us go like 2 laps on Galbraith. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Instead of 1.
Yeah, we rode all the way up. So
yeah, I mean, if you're not gonna have and if you don't have a battery, then you might, and you have like 45 minutes, then you're just going to get 1 lap. But if you have a battery, you're going to be able to do 2, maybe even 3 laps.
Sure.
So I'd love to let you try it.
I would be more than down. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got a friend, you guys can go.
Okay.
Take them. We have a little mountain. There's a mountain biking trail. You should check that out.
Okay.
It's easy to get from my house. So maybe next time when you're in the area, if you're ever driving through here to like some office in Bellingham, give me a call, because you could probably, if you had an extra hour on your way through, you could stop at our house, pick up the bike. We'll give you like a trail.
Sounds good.
That you can just ride to, and it'll take you an hour to give it back, and I'll help you.
I'll help you rinse it off. I'll take you up on that.
Okay, perfect.
It's kind of funny because Dr. Galbraith up in Bellingham is one of the only docs I have up there using the scanner. So he said Galbraith, and makes me think of her.
Yeah, so, sounds great. I've heard about her. I'd love to meet her.
She's great.
That's great. I hope to collaborate about it.
They do a study club up there like once a month or something in her office. They have, I think, 10 to 12 doctors that continually go. So
all right, when is it?
I don't know. But there is some event happening in Q4 of this year with the Mount Baker Dental Society, and they've invited me to go talk. So
great. I'm a member.
Yeah, great. So it would be great to have you there, and I can have maybe by then we even have the printer set up here, and we can you can talk about your experience a little bit and just warm people up, because I know like up in Bellingham generally it's not very scanner heavy up there. Like not a lot of offices in Bellingham have intraoral scanners. So,
well, they say science advances one funeral at a time. And I think that there's a generational change happening in Bellingham, you know.
I see.
Yeah. So, and it's happening everywhere, you know. So I think I've seen Mount Vernon turn over. So it'll happen. It just might take a while. We'll see. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That sounds great. Just remind me, you know, when that comes.
Once I have the dates, I'll let you know, because I don't even know what day it is. But yeah, again, thank you for inviting me on to this and giving me the opportunity to talk to the world in a sense in our little microphones here. But excited to see what comes from it. And yeah, I would love to come back, and maybe we'll bring my dad on too. I never know. So
yeah, I'd love to talk to your dad. If he's open to sitting here, I'd love to have him on too.
Yep.
Okay, great.
I'll mention it to him.
Okay, great. Well, that's it. We're going to call this a wrap.
All right. Sounds good.
Have fun the rest of your day.
Appreciate it.
Dear friends, I hope you've enjoyed this latest conversation with Troy Rand, a guy that's been really important to me and my journey in dentistry. I'd like to leave you with a quote. This one is from Steve Jobs, and he says that technology is nothing. What's important is your faith in people, that they are basically good and smart, and that if you give them the tools, they'll do wonderful things with them. So I'll see you next time, and thanks for listening.